This episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
I want to welcome everybody out today to episode 296 of I Am Salt Lake Podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Hollifield.
And you might hear some little baby coos in the background. That is Lucy.
She is starting to podcast with us now.
Anyway, welcome to I Am Salt Lake Podcast. Today we sit down with owner and founder of Waymark Gear Co, Mark Benson. Mark Benson actually was on episode 158 of this podcast talking about Zao Asian Cafe. But this time he came back around, came on the podcast to share with the listeners on why he left the culinary industry and got into making backpacks.
Which is amazing because he did so great at both.
Oh my gosh, what an influential story. We're going to get into all of that here in just a minute, so hang tight. But as a lot of you know, seasons are changing here in Salt Lake City. Summer's behind us, fall is settling in, and winter is right around the corner. Chrissy's parents are actually in town this weekend from Wisconsin to visit the baby. And we spent Saturday winterizing the house.
You know, when family comes, you put them to work, right?
That's what they say. And I don't know about you, Chrissy, but I would like summer back. I'm a big fan of summer.
I thought it was hot during the summer, but now I'm sad and I miss it.
Yeah, but winter is beautiful here in Salt Lake City. It's beautiful in Utah. I'll be the first to admit there's something about grabbing a cup of coffee, grabbing a cup of hot cocoa, looking out the window and watching the snowfall. And I'm excited because the last 12 years, I've had to work outside in the snow.
Yeah, and this is the first time you won't have to for 12 years.
Gosh.
Are you excited?
No, I really am. It kind of brings a whole different perspective to Utah. I used to dread the weather. I used to pay attention to every day snowfall, what to wear outside because I'd have to work outside.
I'm really excited to watch you and see how you enjoy winter.
Absolutely. But listen up, we all run into those events that we need a photographer. Maybe it's a family get-together, a work holiday party, or maybe you're a comedian that needs headshots, or like Chrissy and myself, we needed wedding photos. We want to invite you to check out the photography of local photographer Amanda DeWolf. She took all of our wedding pictures, and we seriously couldn't be happier with them. Go check out her website. You can check out all of her work. Get in touch with her at amandakmemories.com. Again, that's Amanda K-A-Y, memories.com. All right, let's jump into that conversation that we had with Mark Benson when he came over to our office, shared his story. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy. What was your title at Zao Asian Cafe? I
was basically the chef of operations there.
Yeah. And you ran the entire place.
Yeah, so basically my role there was, first of all, had a large part in creating the actual recipes and...
which I would like to thank you for.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the recipes and then a lot of kitchen design and development and everything. So, yeah, it was quite a good run there for a while. And
you're no longer there.
Correct.
You actually, and that's what we're going to get into here in a second to talk about your new company that you kind of up and left Zao to pursue this, right? What's the story there? What happened? Midlife crisis or what?
Well, this would be like a second midlife crisis, really. I mean, it's funny, about every 10 years or so, I'll start a new career. So even before Zao, I was in construction for about 12 years.
Did we talk about that on that episode? Because I remember we talked about Vegas, because you lived in Vegas for a while.
We might have said
how have you done all of this in your lifetime, Mark? You're not that old.
Yeah, I don't know. With the construction, it was so easy to get into when I was younger. Just paid really well. It was better than just your average, kind of fast food job or something.
Sure.
But then were you just like a magician with food, magically? A magic magician?
No, I mean, I guess through a lot of hard work, yeah.
And see, because this is new to me, how did you pick up that skill while working in construction? Was it just something that naturally came to you?
And I think we talked about it a little bit in episode,
Yeah,
but I'm
in
sure
episode.
everybody we can catch them up a little bit, I guess, to date. How are you?
So really, at the time, I was in my first marriage, and my wife at the time was, really didn't know how to cook very well, or just didn't do a lot of cooking. And for me, I kind of dabbled in it when I was younger, and so one of my rituals, I just watched the Food Network like Saturday mornings instead of like Saturday morning cartoons. I was watching these cooking shows, and I just got so interested in it. And there was this one time that I saw this pork tenderloin recipe that was on there, and I just kind of followed the recipe really quick. And I didn't write anything down. I went to the store to buy the groceries for everything, and I just kind of, off the top of my head, kind of remembered everything that was in there, and we cooked it for dinner that night, and it was amazing. And we're like, "What just happened?" And,
Yeah.
And I think it kind of started from there. And so I started doing all the cooking at home for like a couple of years. So it was really a lot of almost like a development stage, during that time at home, and along with the just need to get out of construction. It was just such a terrible job. I was doing concrete. I was, worked in Utah in all 4 seasons. Didn't matter what it was, rain, snow, you name it.
Yeah, so you kind of knew what I was going through at my old job of, sometimes, did you grow a big beard? Did you have a big beard?
I had more of a goatee.
Yeah,
I had goatee.
I mean, when you're in the wintertime, man, you gotta grow the facial hair to stay warm.
Yeah. I just didn't. I had the little patch in here that wouldn't grow, so it was like sideburns and goatee, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
So I want to jump in with this backpack stuff that you're making.
Because this is like
now,
another random skill that you're amazing
I remember I ran into you at a farmer's market. I think this is the first time you ever told me about this, that you were doing this, if I'm not mistaken. And you were like, I'm making backpacks now. We caught up just because, and I'll even maybe add it in the intro, a little bit of our story. I've known you for a while. You came out to a lot of the Insta walks that I was organizing. So, we knew each other. We used to go to some shows together, a couple shows here and there. And, I knew you. And then you're telling me you're making backpacks. I'm like, what? What is this? I mean, how did that happen for you to start making backpacks? Or what is it exactly? How would you describe what you're making?
Well, so the Waymark Gear Company, we're making ultralight frameless backpacks, and it's more of kind of an underground almost. There's kind of a whole cottage industry scene that's out there. A lot of companies across the United States that are basically just garage guys that are just making outdoor gear.
Why? What is wrong with the big commercial gear? Like, why would you want to make this versus just being like, okay, I can go to REI and buy a backpack?
Well, so like this backpack that's here, for instance, it's a 38 liter, and it actually doesn't even have a hip belt, but it's made for weights that are carrying within 20 pounds or less, this particular one. But I do also make a 50 liter pack. It's a little larger, has a hip belt on it.
Sure.
But the backpacks, that backpack, for instance, here, this 38 liter weighs about 15 ounces. So the same pack at one of the big stores is going to weigh at least double that.
Sure. Wow.
So
15 ounce. That's not even
tiny.
That's
That's
not
very
even
light.
a pound, right? 16 ounces in a pound.
So even my 50 liter, generally a 50 liter pack with the frame and everything is going to weigh you like 4, sometimes 5 pounds. And my 50 liter pack only weighs about 30 ounces.
And that probably makes a huge difference when you're doing a long hike.
Yeah.
Just that extra weight.
Yeah. I mean, even just a couple of pounds, instantly, if you bought one of these packs, you could drop a couple pounds off. And then you start kind of paying attention to some of your gear and things that you need. and you're not carrying this huge load. You're not getting tired after 2 or 3 miles on a track.
How did this happen, though? I mean, was there a moment that you're like, I should try to start making, because you make these yourself, right?
100%.
The one I'm looking at right now, you make.
Yep.
And I'll take a picture of that if it's okay. Put it up on the website.
Totally, yeah.
And I know there's some other photos online. Maybe I can put there. I'll link it up so listeners can go to your web. What is your website? We'll mention it at the end, but what is the website?
It's waymarkgearco.com.
Okay. And people can go there and check out these backpacks we're going to be talking about during the interview. But what was the moment for you?
So I got back into backpacking about 2 seasons ago with my brother. Yeah, I had probably 10% of the actual gear I needed. I had like a sleeping bag, some old Walmart 3-pound synthetic sleeping bag that was so heavy, but still only rated to like 40 degrees, so very big and heavy. He lent me a bag. I went and bought a bunch of stuff, and I ended up having about 40 pounds in this backpack just for an overnight trip, which is ridiculous. It's a lot of weight.
And you knew nothing about really backpacking at this time, or did you have a little bit of history? Because you're not the Mark I knew wasn't like a big outdoor enthusiast as you are now.
Well, I was when I was younger. I was in Boy Scouts, and we went on a lot of treks when I was in Boy Scouts. A lot of overnight camp outs. Sure. A couple of overnight, type things. So actually, when I was younger, I did a lot of camping.
But then life probably got busy.
Yeah. And then, my first wife wasn't into camping or anything. And then I just kind of got away from it. Yeah. At that point. So
you started backpacking with your brother.
Yeah.
Is he a pretty big backpacker, or kind of just like a typical Utah person, get out once in a while?
Yeah, he's been able to kind of get out every couple times a year. And he works at backcountry.com, so he actually is able to get, different gear and things like that. So he's kind of picked up things over time. Sure. But that's why he had the extra pack even for me to try. But I think for me, it was just a big eye-opener. I was so tired. We only hiked like 2.5, 3 miles on that, and we were beat. I was so tired. And after that, I was like, I'm going to start getting into this and go buy a pack. And it really kind of came from actually searching online and kind of doing. I'm very thorough when I buy anything, especially if it's more expensive. I do a lot of research.
He's a man after my own heart, man. Got to be a little frugal.
I'll spend 2 months trying to figure it out and go, 5 minutes to go pay for it.
Sure.
But
you guys are alike. I'm like, just buy stuff.
So I think really at that point, I started kind of going down this rabbit hole with gear. So went on YouTube. YouTube was the best thing that happened as far as looking deeper into the backpacking. And that's when I really found out about these little cottage industry companies that were just little companies that started off in a garage. And they're literally building their backpacks, tents, tarps, rain gear, you name it. They're making it all.
Were there a lot of instructional? Like, did people show you how they made it so that you can create your own? Or
yeah. There was a lot of like DIY people that were showing up. But at the time when I was first looking, I had no interest in actually trying to make it. I was like, oh my God, I can't make it.
Backpack. That's kind of an intense project.
But did you have any sewing experience?
No, zero.
Zero sewing. So it wasn't like you were making your own pants or something, or nothing.
Yeah. I think mainly I've just always been, all my jobs have always had some kind of hands-on type of, I've always been pretty good with building or making something, and kind of figuring things out.
And now, you make a heck of a backpack. Unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you.
What did people say? Like what, when you started making them, and were they just like, oh, well, that's just another thing Mark's doing? Or were people pretty supportive? Your wife or brother? Who, the people around you, what were they saying when you're like, I start making these?
I think, the kind of the funny backstory was my wife had an old sewing machine that had been sitting there for like 10 years, and it's just been in storage, and she was going to kind of get into doing some different projects and, just like everything else, just kind of things get in the way. But,
sure.
And so one night I I was up until like 1 a.m. watching a couple of YouTube videos on just some little hobby, sewers that are just making, dresses and all kinds of things. And I'm just like in the room, like making sure that she can't hear me watching. Just like, it's okay, honey.
What are you watching? Porn?
I'm literally trying to just understand what a sewing machine is and like the
That's
basics
awesome.
and like how to just like wind it all together and put the thread in the bobbin, And then that weekend we went to Joann's, craft store. And she's walking around and says, I got to go in here and get a couple things. And I was like, I'm just going to go over here. I was just going to look at some stuff.
And because she had no idea that this was going on in your head of like, maybe I can make backpacks.
Yeah.
So what happened? You went to Joanne, you're looking.
We started walking around and we kind of meet up. And she's like, where are you? And it's like, I'm coming. And she's like waiting up in the front of the store. And I have this handful of like a little cutting mat with a rotary cutter and some rulers and I'm just like, I'm gonna.
Did you feel like you were caught? Like you're like,
oh, totally.
I'm screwed. Now I have to explain everything that I've been thinking.
Yeah. And basically, the first thing that I started with was just making like gaiters. Like kind of those. It's like a cover that you put over from your leg over your shoe or your boot.
Okay.
That kind of keeps like snow and dirt out and stuff like that. So that was actually the first thing that I started trying was just like some really super basic design like that. And I must have made like 10 different versions of it or something. Just as a learning process on how to use the machine and all that kind of stuff.
How long ago was this approximately? Just to kind of get an idea, a little bit of a time frame.
It was a year ago this month.
Okay.
It was
so
only a year ago.
Yeah, just to and that's kind of what I want to emphasize here. And because you're still working at Zao during all of this,
right? Yeah.
And this is kind of like, okay, I want to start doing this. And you had no idea what it was going to turn into, right? You had no goal. You were just like,
absolutely,
I want to teach myself how to do this. And that's what I really want to emphasize this here, Mark. Of people act like either A, they're too old to start something new, or I have no, I can't teach myself.
There's
something.
always good excuses.
Yeah,
to not do
but
stuff.
that's what I think is so awesome about that. I mean,
look at okay, when you post a picture of this backpack, that is like disgusting, and so many of us will be so jealous that you just learned a sewing machine and within a year could make this kind of a backpack. It's insane.
I want to buy one. I like seriously. I mean, I kind of want to get into backpacking now, just because I'm like, well, that looks cool.
It is really pretty. I like the color.
I may have brought
with
that
it.
particular one because you guys would have liked that color. So.
No, but so you get the material. You're teaching yourself how to make these, just to use a sewing machine. When did you start? Like, when did you decide to make a backpack? And how did that go? What did it look like? Did it just look silly?
Oh man, it's funny. I just kind of recycled some stuff that we had in the house. Even for like the shoulder pads, I just used these. They make these like absorbent dish cloths that you can lay dishes on. That kind of like it's like microfiber and like this mesh on the bottom of them. Uh-huh. And I just cut those out into the shoulder straps.
Do you still have some of the original ones that you created out of like scraps?
Oh yeah,
yeah. You got to save that stuff.
Oh, you do.
Man.
I've
got at least 10 different prototypes. I didn't even realize when I started the first pack that it was the first prototype of many more to come. So when was it last? So yeah, it was last year. About 10 minutes before I was going on an overnight backpacking trip just up in Little Cottonwood Canyon. I finished sewing this backpack and I'm like, I'm going to try to take it and put all my stuff in it. And I brought like duct tape, like this little sewing kit with all this thread, just expecting it was just going to fall apart. And I was just like, I'm just going to duct tape this thing like crazy if it falls apart.
So awesome.
And I throw everything in there. I put it on and I'm like, wow, this is kind of comfortable.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool. I get through the whole thing. It like rained and all this stuff. All my stuff was dry. And I get back and I'm like, that was pretty cool. And I think that right then it kind of like turned on a light. It was like, I didn't have plans to make this backpack. I didn't have any patterns. I literally just made it.
Were you with other people on this hike?
No, on this one, no.
Oh, I was just wondering what their
myself.
response was like.
I had taken a couple pictures. I might have even posted them on Instagram or something. I could even send them to you.
Yeah.
You might even, you could post them up there or something like that.
Yeah.
To kind of show along with this one, but.
And maybe I'm missing, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'm very intrigued. At what point did you decide I want to do this full time?
I think it was really just, I felt like I was working 2 full-time jobs. I would wake up at like 5 in the morning, 5 or 6 in the morning, even when I'd have to go to work. And I would just start working on a project, an idea, something. And I'd start making an average of 1 or 2 backpacks a month.
Were you selling them at this point?
No,
not
at all.
You just really enjoyed making them?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think it was like I was trying to make every one of them better and kind of come up with new ideas and designs. But at the same time, I just didn't feel like I had any way to actually sell them. It's like, well, what do I do? Who do I talk to? How do I market this? And I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time for it. I was kind of almost crushing my dream as I was doing this sometimes.
Were a lot of people, I'm sure people were seeing the backpacks, right? Friends.
Uh-huh.
What were they saying? Were they pretty excited? Because they had to give you an insinuation. Yeah, I could sell these.
Yeah.
I think it was, at the time, it was mostly family. I had showed my brother and my sister and even my daughters and my wife. And after a while, they're like, "You made this?" So like, where did you buy the straps? Where did you buy this? And I was like, "No, I made that." And so I think at that point, it was just, I kind of realized that there was maybe a possibility I could make them, but I was like, well, how could I handle making that many, the volume? I have this
the
little
scaling
dinky
thing seems like it would be scary.
Yeah, there's like $100 sewing machine that barely works. It's like, I can't do this. This is insane.
But you quit your job and you're doing it.
So in June.
So in June. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping
so
around. I'm excited because I think it's awesome here. You're every person's dream to like quit their job and pursue something. Mm-hmm. So talk about that. Yeah, I know we keep kind of getting there, but
no.
Yeah.
So basically, June of this year was the 5-year mark that I had started with Zao.
Uh-huh.
And so it was just kind of, I don't know, I kind of got to a point where it was about a month and a half before I decided, I was like, you know what, this is going to be kind of almost like monumental that it's like the same month that I had started and 5 years almost to the day that I was going to leave Zao. But I think it really was only like a month before I actually quit that I decided I was going to do it. And it was more of just this thing where like, I'm going to do it. It's going to be the scariest thing in the world. I'm quitting this freaking job that...
it was a good job.
Yeah.
You had a good job. This wasn't like you were just the guy making the tacos behind the counter.
You're in charge.
Running the stores. You were opening the Zaos. You opened multiple locations. I remember, I think I shared about this for the first time you were on the podcast. When you and I kind of first started spending, hanging out, you were creating these recipes out of your apartment.
Yeah.
The 400 South location wasn't even open yet. So you've been along the way, like you said, over the last 5 years. Here you are quitting your job. It's scary. I could relate. I quit a job of 11 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, so when you quit, like what, did your wife push you at all, or this was all your decision?
It was all me. It was really kind of a shock to her too. I had been kind of struggling for the last few months, just kind of because I was really starting to get into the backpacks, and I was like, it didn't matter how long I worked during the day at Zao. When I was so excited to come home and start doing more work, working in the backpacks.
Like you were kind of in the back of your mind was always thinking about what you could do once you got to the backpacks.
Yeah. I was like, oh wait, I just had this idea, and I'd had, on my phone I have all these millions of notes.
Evernote just open up there.
Totally. And then I'm just like, oh wait a minute, yeah, do this. And so I'd run home and I'd stay up until like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Still, but then it's like I'd wake up in the morning and have to go to Zao and go to work. And I was just like, man, there's this shift going on here. It's like, I'm supposed to be really excited about this company that I helped build and create from the ground up.
Yeah.
And here I am just kind of like all I can do is think about my little hobby.
Yeah.
It's like, this is ridiculous. What's going on? And I think it just kind of clicked. I was like, there's no easy way to do this. It's going to be scary as hell. I'm going to have to walk away from this job and have no guarantee of any income whatsoever and just try to make it work.
On that note, let's take a quick break. Got to play a message from our sponsor. Hold that thought, Mark. This is great. I love it. So hang tight. We'll be right back. This episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast is proudly sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. Their newest location is located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Just show up, get yourself a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute date or a job interview. Jed's Barbershop is the place for you. Head on over to their website at jedsbarbershop.com for more information. So when you decided to make the leap to quit Zao, you still weren't selling any backpacks yet, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Did you have a website? Nothing.
No.
You didn't even have a business name.
No, didn't have a business license, didn't have a business name, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did everyone around you kind of take that news?
Well, you were saying your wife kind of caught her off guard.
Yeah. I mean, for her, I told her, I was like, hey, I'm really thinking about doing this. And then throughout the course of that week, even, I just kind of was like, I'm just doing it, and it really was a little bit of a shock to her. And really to me too. I was like, what am I doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is insane,
When you went and told your guy, like your boss at Zao,
No.
I mean, were you scared?
Oh, very.
Because I know how it was for me when I, after 11 years at a job and then you go give your notice. I remember driving to work that day. My arms were shaking. Like I was just so nervous.
You don't know what.
And that's what I was wondering if it was similar for you. But see, with me, I was lining everything up. I mean, it sounds like you didn't even have a whole lot
I had
lined up.
Nothing, zero lined up.
Just a lot of passion.
Yeah, it was just like I knew I finally found the passion that everyone talked about.
Yeah.
I found it when I found cooking. I found it when I was doing photography. But this really was only able to be unlocked after I had the experience with Zao, with actually helping to start a company from the ground up. Any other venture I was kind of playing with before, I didn't have that experience. And so it was like I knew not only that I could make the packs, but also that I could run the business and get it started.
Do you feel that people, like you were talking about the passion of cooking and photography, which we might have time to dabble a little bit in talking, but you're a big photographer. I mean, you taught me a lot about photography. Do you think people can have a lot of different passions in their lifetime?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes I wonder that,
Man.
right? Like,
I think if you don't, that's kind of sad.
well, because I still sometimes feel the same way. I'm like, gosh, I like this. And then you wonder, well, was that not really a passion of mine? Was this not really a passion of mine? Because,
I say don't put yourself in a box.
Yeah.
Like allow yourself to love whatever comes into your life that you find enjoyable. Joyful?
So are you selling your backpacks now then, right? You're selling them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So listeners of the show can go, say your website again.
So it's Waymark Gear Co. So it's just co.com.
And I'll put those with the show notes with iamsaltlake.com and look on your podcast player and stuff there too. So, because I really want people, because I've looked at your website and I mean, it's great. The gear is great.
Is it custom order at this point?
Yeah, well, so I have a couple of different backpacks. I've got the 50-liter pack, and it can either have with or without a hip belt because it's actually removable, so you can actually choose your hip size. So it's not like that's the other thing with the big store brands is it's like medium gets this size belt, large gets this size belt. And I just recently made a pack for a lady in Maine that was never able to find the right size for her hips, and I was able to take her measurements and get it exactly to fit her the way that she needed it. There was nobody was making this size of a hip belt.
That has to be so nice for that has to make a big difference for especially long distance hiking or backpacking.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already getting orders in Maine?
Yeah. The funny thing is I've already done probably about 10 different orders. And almost every one of them is custom. And I was like, in the beginning, I was like, oh man, I don't want to do custom work. I just want to have these set kind of packs. They're going to be in a few different colors.
Oh.
And, then people just order them and choose which belt size they want, and that's it.
What about a custom fanny pack? Will you make me a custom fanny pack?
I just tested one this
No
weekend.
way.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably like a really nice hiking one, right? Because I would imagine a fanny pack would be great for a day hike. Or something like that, right?
Well, the nice thing is I used the 40-liter. It's the slightly larger size. So this one's actually made for smaller or more slender or for women.
Uh-huh.
And then I have the 40-liter, which is only about 2 inches taller, has a little bit wider shoulders on it. And I've been using that a few different times, so I don't have a hip belt on it because it's my whole gear is only like 15 pounds right now.
Okay.
So I actually can wear a fanny pack as well and put more stuff in, like a camera, phone, snacks in there.
Quick access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of having
I like that.
Since I don't have a hip belt, I don't have like the pockets that are on it generally. So
now that you're not working, I mean, this is your full-time gig. Are you getting out hiking a lot? Are you getting out camping a lot? I mean, you probably go out a lot, huh?
yeah, I've already gone out. This is my 4th time already in just the last few months.
Yeah.
And went up to Timpanogos last night. And man, we hiked about 10 miles today because we set up a base camp with a buddy of mine, and then we stayed there overnight, and then we hiked up to the peak and then all the way back down.
What is it that you like about hiking?
I think really just the first solo one that I did last year in the beginning of the year. It's kind of like with what I've done with Waymark, with the business. You kind of have to just step out of your comfort zone, even though you're scared to death. I mean, it's so funny. It's like I'm going up into a canyon that's, has a decent amount of people hiking up in the daytime. But I was so scared to just go off on my own,
Just afraid, like maybe if you got hurt, nobody would know where you were.
Got hurt, or what if I couldn't start a fire if I needed to, or like.
But you were a Boy Scout, Mark.
Right.
I was just thinking I would definitely get lost if I tried to do that.
Well, that too. Getting lost, running out of water.
Yeah, there's so much that could happen.
So many things that could happen.
Run into a mountain lion.
And I think that's probably the number one thing that I like about it is that sense of independence and freedom and empowerment that comes from after you do your first couple of times. You're like, I can do this,
Well, and I know we've talked about it. We've talked about it on this podcast. We bring people on and they're always recommending hiking places. And, I know Chrissy and I, we kind of laugh about it, like how we're not really hikers, but there's a part of me, and I'm not just saying this because Mark's here. I feel like, gosh, that would be a good thing to get into. I mean, even just a great exercise. I mean, we got it in our own backyard here in Utah.
Yeah, we're a lot luckier than other states.
We
have
really
great trails.
are. I mean, you probably know dozens of trails that are great day hikes.
And they're all, I live in South Salt Lake, just on the other side of the freeway on the west side there. And I can be up in one of the canyons at a trailhead within 15 to 20 minutes and be hiking.
Is it good? I mean, back to your backpacks. Obviously, like when you have a product, you need to kind of get out and network with the people that are interested in it. I mean, I guess with hiking, you can't really, it's like you pass a hiker and give them your business card or something like that.
I've actually thought about doing that, but
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering how you could
look for the people who are really tired and having a hard time carrying it.
And market, well, while we're on the talking of hikes, I kind of wanted to bring this up a little bit in this podcast episode, just because, again, I mean, we have all these great trails. You make this great gear. But how could somebody, like, let's say myself, obviously I can give you a call, but how would I get into hiking? Like, how do you even find out about all the trails? Is there a website or?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, how would you get into hiking even?
I think the first thing to do is if you know anybody personally that's into it. I mean, you generally will know somebody once or twice removed.
Sure.
That's generally the first thing to do. But I just started. I would just type in like the top 10 best hikes in the Wasatch Front.
And then they
First
get
thing to
directions there. And
yeah, and you do that, find a couple of different websites in that search. So I go through and do like 3 or 4 different searches, and then you find, oh, the Mount Olympus one just popped up 3 times, or, Red Pine Lake or whatever. And it's like, okay, this one's very popular. And I just kind of go from there. And there's a lot of phone apps as well as links to different kind of almost trail ratings that you can. It's almost kind of like a Yelp for a trails, so to speak. And there's a lot of them on there. I can't think of any right off the top of my head.
No, and I mean, because I mean, I'm putting you on the spot. If I would have prepared you a little bit for
But it's
that.
good to know there are those resources out there for people who have never thought about looking it up until now.
Yeah,
and there's dozens of them, and so you look at it and it'll give you like all the exact, like the mileage, the amount of elevation gain, and so forth. It'll give it a difficulty rating. It'll tell you what times a year that are best if you need water, if you need to get water and filter it, or if you need to plan for carrying all your water with you. It'll tell you if there's, fires allowed up there, just all kinds of stuff like that.
Do you ever have any dreams of like hiking the Appalachian Trail or any of that stuff?
Well,
you hear people talk about that, right? Yeah. It's out east, right? Uh-huh. Pennsylvania.
That was kind of the first one that was part of my kind of rabbit hole when I started looking into the ultralight backpacks. So it went from just looking at like backpacking gear to all of a sudden I found one link and this guy's like, I have a 16-ounce backpack and total weighs 8 pounds, and I'm like, what? 8? How is that possible? And there's a whole subculture of hikers that are into ultralight backpacking.
Huh.
And so back to your point with the Appalachian Trail, especially with that trail, there's so many towns that you're traveling through. The hikers will actually set up mail drops for themselves before they start their trek. And so they'll have like, the Appalachian Trails was it over 2,100 miles or so?
It's quite lengthy, yeah.
Georgia to Maine. And they'll have mail drops set up that have been mailed with all their food that they need for the next section. So they don't have to carry, 2 months worth of food. And it would be impossible.
These guys are like moms. Like they know what's up. They know how to prepare.
Oh, they are smart.
Well, no, and I know in similar people that have even done that when they've ridden their bicycle across the United States, from like Pennsylvania to Washington or something like that. They'll mail stuff to themselves. They'll time it or they schedule it somehow with a person.
Sometimes a lot of times they have kind of their hub, their person that'll, a parent, a friend, or something that will have it all there and like start sending it at different time frames. So it's not sitting there for like 3 months and then it gets sent back or something.
Wow.
That is so fascinating.
So back to, I want to kind of let's get back for a second to Waymark Gear, your business. Do you plan on doing like trade shows, anything like that? Like, do you ever see yourself at like outdoor retailers?
Well, I went to an outdoor retailer this year.
With your gear?
I was carrying some of it around, but I didn't have a booth or anything.
Do you see yourself having a booth eventually?
Yeah, they have kind of a whole.
Well, I don't even know how that works.
Well, they have some different sections in there that have kind of some younger startup companies. And that was also kind of cool because I was able to talk to some of those people and just kind of see what they've kind of gone through, and so I feel like within the next year or two, that would definitely be possible.
What about like even the downtown farmers market? I don't know. Would that work? Would you do it?
I thought about farmers market. The one that I was really excited about, but just wasn't quite ready for was the Craft Lake City.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been perfect.
Maybe next year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I plan on doing it next year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still doing photography?
No, I sold my camera like probably almost 2 years ago.
Do you miss it at all?
Sometimes.
You get out with your iPhone and stuff still probably to take pictures.
That's my only camera at this point, And so, I mean, even up in the mountains there, I was taking pictures, but.
You're bicycling too, right? You're a pretty big bicyclist. Do you ever think about, or maybe you have made gear for bicycles? Because I know they have the gear, right? People put on there.
Yeah, I have thought about it. It's one of the things that I've kind of come across in my studies. Between, they even have these bike packers that are doing these long tricks like you were talking about.
Yeah.
They have all those different kind of packs that are really slim that kind of fit on the bike. But also even urban stuff, panniers and biking messenger bags and things like that. I'd like to get a few items like that, at least started into the wintertime, just so I kind of have some sustainable business. Because obviously not as many people are going to be buying outdoor backpacks in the wintertime. So I would love to do like some bike, kind of backpacks and things like that.
What advice would you give somebody that wanted to start their own business? I mean, do you have any business advice? I mean, I know you did it really different than a lot of people. Just up and quit your job.
Hey.
It's not like you were already making, $1,000 a month,
right.
or you just did it. Would you recommend that to everybody?
No, definitely not. I mean, at least for me, my kids are older now. They're now both out of the house.
Yeah. Not a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. My wife does pretty well. So I had a little bit of saving, a little bit of cushion,
sure.
A few things at least kind of ready for the change.
So it wasn't like you were just paycheck to paycheck. Oh, I'm done. I learned to sew. I'm going to do something else now.
Right.
You were
there was a little bit of foresight, but for me,
yeah,
I think for me, especially coming from the food industry, if you are able to succeed in the food industry, you really have to be able to work under pressure very well, especially like in fine dining restaurants. So for me, I tend to be a lot more motivated when I don't have a choice. Yeah. So it was, I don't know, it was just kind of this thing where I knew I would probably drag it on for another couple of years if I decided to try to do it as I was working a full-time job.
Sure.
And I knew I couldn't do it with working at Zao as well.
Let's kind of shift gears here a little bit. We always like to ask Salt Lake City related questions. If somebody was visiting Salt Lake City for a weekend, obviously we talked hiking places, but would you recommend them to check anything else out or do something else? Or what would you tell somebody to do that's never been to Salt Lake City?
Well, I mean, I think especially for me, I would definitely suggest different trails to go on.
Yeah.
Until I had got out on a few of these overnighters, I had no idea there were so many lakes up in the mountains, like right a couple miles away. Wow. There are so many lakes up there.
Like you wouldn't expect that in Utah, right? Like maybe in Wisconsin or Michigan or something like that, right? But not Utah.
Yeah, people just kind of assume that you can just drive up to a lake. It's like we have the Great Salt Lake here, but it's like they have no idea that there's this other complete, almost like fantasy, like Fern Gully kind of world that's out there that just not many people go and see because you actually have to be physically fit for it. You have to be kind of prepared.
Is there like a kind of a favorite trail you would recommend?
Yeah, top 3 trails here, Mark. Let's do that.
I did the Red Pine Lake Trail up in Little Cottonwood Canyon last week, and I've done that one about 3 or 4 times now. And it's about 4 miles up to the lower Red Pine Lake. And then there's an upper Red Pine Lake, and then from there you can actually go up to the Pfeifferhorn Peak, which is just over 11,300 feet or so.
Okay.
It's if you're a little bit more adventurous, you can do the peak, but if not, I see a lot of families with kids and so forth going to the Red Pine Lake. Just beautiful, small little lake, but lots of pine trees, really pretty. Lots of water, kind of streams and things. Mount Olympus, the first time it was recommended to me, it was actually like not recommended.
Why is that?
I think it was just, it's so exposed, like in the summertime, there's not a lot of shade for most of it. And a lot of it is just, you can kind of hear the cars on the freeway up on the 215 and so forth, but it's a real challenge. It's like over 4,000 feet of elevation gain from the trailhead up. And it's a butt kicker.
So that's more for like if you want to push yourself.
Yeah. You.
So we wouldn't take you out there.
No.
I pray.
I wouldn't.
that one's pretty rough. Like Secret Lake up in Little Cottonwood, that's only like a 1.5 mile turnaround or something. It's pretty close, but again, that's kind of like a really easy one to get to go see, and it's really beautiful, and you're way up above Alta, kind of right in the Alta ski resort almost right there. That would be a good one for anybody to get up there and just kind of get that first
like a taste for hiking.
Taste for it. It's like, what? There's a lake up here? It's like, but people don't realize that, like, every one of those mountains is shedding all that snow from the winter, and all that water has to go somewhere. And there's going to be areas up in the mountains that are going to have, dips.
That's so interesting, because I didn't even realize that. It makes sense, but I never thought about that before. I figured it just trickled down the mountain and went into the ground, and
Yeah, it's crazy.
What about, I know I asked this, I can't even remember what your favorite local eating spots were at that time, but I know you're still a big foodie. You like to get out and eat, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Where are you enjoying these days? Any favorite local eating spots here in Salt Lake City area that you're enjoying these days?
We don't get out as much as I'd like to, but
I'm sure there's one or two places.
Yeah, we like to go to Three Pines for coffee.
Oh yeah,
I think hands down they have the best coffee.
And we've had them on the podcast. I forgot what episode that was.
Ooh, it was my first episode.
And and they're using coffee from Portland, but they have such good execution on the coffee. It's just it's really the closest that I've had to Portland coffee. We really like Three Cups. We were there this weekend. Three Cups is up in
Holiday.
Holiday.
Yeah.
They have amazing food up there. Their coffee's great, and their food is amazing. Lots of desserts, gelatos, just really creative food. And we've been going there for a couple of years, just for kind of like Sunday or Saturday morning kind of breakfast to kind of get the day going. I think besides that, we were doing a lot of ramen for a while at Tasha's.
Yeah, I remember you. I still haven't taken Chrissy there.
I know.
I'm a bad person, Mark.
I'm just going to go without you. It's okay.
I think the last one I can think of right off the top of my head is the farmer's market. We've been trying to get down there a little bit more this year again, and they've got the La Cubana booth there that's doing Cuban sandwiches.
Oh yes,
Those are good.
Gosh,
yeah.
Those. It's a little bit of a wait there because they just have they have limited power there, and they've got all these little griddles and stuff, and it has to take a while to get this baguette to really crisp up on the outside. And I had the first one, I don't know, a little over a month ago, and every time I go there, I don't care if they charge $50 for it. I'll buy it.
You still cooking a lot at home, or you kind of stop that?
We cook a lot at home, actually.
Yeah, I just wondering if you're still getting your culinary skills to a T.
Well, we've been doing a lot of healthier foods. Like when we go to the grocery store and we come home, when we're in line, like the entire conveyor belt is just bags of vegetables. We
That's the
buy
way to
so
do
much,
it.
Yeah, so much fresh food. So we kind of plan our meals out for the whole week. So we'll cook up like a bunch of quinoa or something, bake a bunch of baked potato or sweet potatoes. And then just kind of like we've been doing these, we've been calling them power bowls lately. We'll just take quinoa or some like an orzo, put a little bit of romaine on there, and just start throwing all these fresh vegetables in there.
Oh, that's so great.
That's when that
Tomatoes,
baby's born.
avocados.
That's how we need to start eating.
That's what we're going to feed her?
No, I gotta drop a few lbs, man.
It sounds delicious
and
too.
And when you get it all kind of prepped together, then throughout the week, you don't even have to reheat anything if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You can literally just take all the different prepped items and then just kind of toss them in there and put a little vinaigrette and just eat it. And you feel so good. It's healthy.
You're making me hungry.
I know.
You should open up your own restaurant. Maybe sell your bags out of them.
Never
Never
want to do that.
Restaurants
again.
are a tough
You
business.
never want to get back in the restaurant industry.
No.
Do you have a plan B if this doesn't work? Or no? I'm just kidding, Mark. I'm just giving you a hard time. No, I think it's great. And let's run down the list. I mean, your website again, it's Waymark Co. or
Gear Co. Waymark Gear Co.
Gear Co.
And it's Waymark is one word.
Yeah. And your name is Mark. I mean, is that kind of the behind the name, huh?
Yeah. I mean, a waymark is basically like a sign on a trail, or it can be kind of like a landmark or something. So it was kind of fitting for the culture of what the product that we're selling. I want to have my name in there, kind of.
Yeah, and you have an Instagram account, right? So people can go check out the gear on their Facebook page. I think you do too, which I'll link. If somebody, so on the website, like let's say we have a listener's like, gosh, I want to check these bags out. Does it go through? I mean, I imagine you have all the process to order them, maybe a contact phone number, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a pretty basic one. It's just a square setup right now. It's pretty simple, but we just kind of bootstrap the whole thing right now. It's pretty simple, but at the same time, it's just kind of a gateway for people to go and look at the packs, make a purchase, choose their options. I have the 40 liter and the 38 liter pack on there, and then the 50 liter pack. Those are like just the main packs that I offer. Then I have a section for custom work. And then I have an accessory section where I sell extra hip pockets and shoulder pockets and a few things like that. So it's kind of broken up that way. And basically, once you actually click onto a backpack, it'll give you options for what size torso that you want to get for the backpack, and also what size you want to get for your hip belt. So it's fairly self-explanatory, but most people actually will message me through Instagram.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I get a lot of messages.
It's nice to get that personal connection, especially with something like that.
Every single purchase I've had, I've actually talked to them through email, Instagram.
I mean, no better way to buy something from Salt Lake City here. I mean, this is about as locally made as you can get. Would you ever, could you get these bags and would you ever get them up onto Amazon or anything? I mean, or is that just too big?
Man, I think maybe down the road, once I kind of have a little bit of a team, sewers and kind of outsource a few of the different items. But basically, I'm almost more worried about it growing too fast.
Oh, and I could see that. I could see that.
A challenge.
Yeah. I could see that. Anything else you want to ask him, Chrissy, before we let him go? I mean, I've had a heck of a conversation. I was so excited to bring you on here just because, not only you got a great product, but we've been friends for a long time. And I've had you on the show before, and I think you got a fascinating story.
Oh, yeah.
That I think a lot of people, we got one shot at life. You got to do what you feel you got to do.
Totally.
Well, it's it's like you were saying before. It's like what, when you touch on it as well, is like, people are you able to have more than one passion in your lifetime? Mm-hmm. Absolutely you are. Almost every single person on this earth does. Well,
you need to continually evolve.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'll be 40 the end of the year, and I'm a completely different person than I was when I was 20 and 30, even 35. We grow so much every year.
Yeah.
And life's just more fun if you do different stuff.
It's really, everybody has a passion. Everybody has things they're into, but it's such the small percentage of people that actually can overcome the fear to follow it. That's really
there's
more
a saying, fear is just excitement on pause. Unpause it, guys. Go have fun. Go do it. Go grab one of these backpacks and get lost in the mountains. Don't get lost.
I think that's a great place to end the show.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Many thanks again to Mark Benson for coming on the podcast, sharing his story. The links to get in touch with him and check out all of his Waymark Gear Co. can be found by visiting iamsaltlake.com/296. While you're there, dig through the back catalog of some of the episodes. Almost 300 episodes of this podcast. Hard to believe, but we have had some amazing conversations, and I know that a lot of you have only listened to a fraction of the interviews. So go back and download a few, listen to a few, share a few on Facebook or Twitter. Share them with your family and friends. Don't make this podcast your dirty little secret.
Yeah, share Salt Lake with everybody.
And let Mark Benson know that you heard him on this episode.
Follow him on Instagram. His things are so cool.
I don't know about you, Chrissy. I know I talk about it, but I got to get out and do some hiking. I got to get out and enjoy some of this beautiful
I will support you in that, and I will
outdoors.
buy you Waymark Gear Co stuff.
As many of you know, I Am Salt Lake podcast has been going on 5 years now, so I get a lot of emails asking where the best place to host a podcast is. Libsyn.com is where I've been hosting this podcast since day one. They are the best. They have the best customer service. They have the best stats. And if you're looking to launch a podcast, check them out. New users can use promo code Salt Lake and get yourself a free month over there at Libsyn.com. Again, that promo code is Salt Lake, all one word, and you'll thank me later. Hey, you've heard me mention them. You've heard me praise them. Jed's Barbershop is a proud sponsor of this podcast. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and even on Sundays from 12 to 5. Their newest 3rd location's opened up. It's located at 167 East, 900 South, right next door to Randy's Records. They also have a location right downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and up in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointments necessary. Just show up, get a haircut. Maybe you have a last-minute job interview. Maybe you have a family reunion. Maybe you have a holiday party.
Or like picture day for school.
Picture day for school. And they were recently voted best in state by City Weekly and KSL. JedsBarbershop.com is their website, so go check it out and give them some love. Many thanks to Jed's Barbershop for sponsoring this podcast. It's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to join our private Facebook group by heading over to iamsaltlake.com/group. I'll forward you on over to Facebook, our Facebook group, where it will invite you to join up and introduce yourself. Tell us what you love why you love living in Salt Lake City, what you love about the podcast. We'd love to hear from you guys. Hey, get out and enjoy the city this week. Go eat lunch at a new spot you've never tried before. Get to know your neighbors. Subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Good night, Grammy.